Gayle Saunders and Chris Mallee welcoming you to another Talk the Prospect. This time we're back at it like a draft addict with cornerback Patrick Surtain the second. We'll start off right off the bat. His pops, man. He was a stellar NFL all-star. Like his dad put in the work, played with the Dolphins and the Chiefs. You're talking about NFL bloodlines at the end of the day. It's funny that I'm starting to see players that I grew up watching, and now I'm starting to watch their sons. So it's really weird for me to start seeing this happen. I used to do this in Madden, where I would change the roster updates and just start making players' sons. But here we are with Patrick Surtain. Right off the bat, how are you feeling about this prospect?
Yeah, Patrick Surtain, rightfully so. He is regarded as a consensus top 3 cornerback. Many have viewed him as a number 1 corner in this class for over a year now. He is a 5-star recruit out of high school from American Heritage in Florida. Tyson Campbell, another corner in this draft, was also a 5-star prospect that was his teammate in American Heritage, and they both went to the SEC. Campbell went to Georgia. Surtain went to Alabama. Both had stellar careers. I mean, just like Caleb Farley, who we touched on last episode of Talk the Prospect, he has the size and build that NFL teams are looking for. 6'2", 205. He has 38 consecutive starts in the SEC for a Nick Saban-led defense. Multiple appearances in big games. I mean, national championships, and he's run the gauntlet. He's gone against the best of the best in the SEC and in top bowl games. Patrick Surtain, we're going to deep dive into some film, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And at the end of the day, we hope that you guys have a better understanding of what he brings to the field and off the field.
Now, a lot of people have been talking about this prospect as being the number 1 cornerback. You play for Alabama. You top-rated cornerback coming out of high school. He was like the number 6 overall prospect. You think about having the trust of a Nick Saban. When talking about Surtain, he says he's a very good player and he's a great person. Does everything the right way, smart, takes coaching well. I can't say enough about this guy in every regard. He's going to be a very successful, no doubt. And I feel like on paper, like he seems like the perfect prospect. But sometimes things are only on paper. I think in theory, one of the safest picks in terms of you're talking about a player whose football IQ is super high. We already talked about his father and the stuff that he probably passed on to his son. Being a top prospect, being able to start early as a freshman for Saban. Saban, he doesn't just start players right away. You got to be really good. You got to be smart. Got to be dependable. I think his game has matured over the seasons. Watching some of his, I watched CeeDee Lamb versus a freshman Surtain, and he took it to him pretty bad. His 2019 tape, I did see him get bullied a little bit, and this is where we're gonna go back and forth and pick. And it's not even a being. You have to be nitpicky when you're talking about top 6, top 10. When you're up in top 6, top 10 range, that's like all pro. These guys are up there for a reason. And when we're watching the tape and you start seeing certain things that might stand out, you're like, I don't know. And we just mentioned Caleb Farley that we talked about yesterday, and we're going to talk about J.C. Horn as well. So Chris, I mean, are you? I know we talked prior to the show. Are you CB2 with Surtain or 3? You mentioned.
So I was posting earlier on my page that right now, after doing another deep dive on Patrick Surtain II, he's actually moved to my CB3 spot. It has nothing to do with don't look at it as a huge knock against him. It's more that J.C. Horn and Caleb Farley, I really think that they have the size, the speed, athleticism that Surtain has and more. And the one thing with Surtain is, as a 38 consecutive starter, there's a lot more film on him, meaning that sometimes you do catch him you're going to catch him a little bit more. I mean, he went against Jamar Chase, went against Terrace Marshall, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee
Kyle
Lamb.
Pitts.
Yeah, all those guys. And no, well, the funny thing with Pitts is he had a great game against him this year. Kyle Pitts got targeted 3 times against him, ended up with 1 catch for 10 yards in the game. He did a really good job against him, and that's attributed to his size and his skills. And the one thing with him is you brought up the IQ earlier. Surtain is really smart, and he makes sure that he uses his teammates and the boundary to his advantage. The one thing with him, the most impressive stat from Surtain in 2020 is that he allowed 25 or less yards in 10 out of 13 games in 2020. I mean, that's an incredible stat right there. A lot of it has to do with teams don't really target him much. So he got targeted a total 48 times this year. He let up 21 receptions on 48 targets for a total of 273 yards. I mean, right there, that's crazy to Eagles fans because we saw Michael Jacquet get absolutely torched in one game and let up like 12 for like 200 something. So Patrick Surtain would be a huge upgrade here. But we have to be nitpicky, like you're saying. We're the 6th overall pick. I don't think that any of the 3 cornerbacks are worthy of the 6th overall pick. So I would think that we maybe would move back if we're going to be acquiring any of them. But we really have to focus on them because, like we've alluded to in the Caleb Farley video, other than Darius Slay, it's really bleak at the cornerback position for the Eagles. So we really need to make sure that we cover the bases on these guys.
Yeah. One other stat that I wanted to throw out there: Patrick Surtain, he played in 41 games at Alabama, and he only allowed over 70 yards just once in his career. And you talk about all the games that he has on tape, which is as you watch some of these games, and we're talking about being nitpicky. You talk about the play speed. That's something that's been talked about by almost every analyst. That's something when he was asked, he did a podcast with PFF recently. He said, "What's the one thing you've been working on?" He's my 40. He said, my speed is getting mocked right now. Even Pop Dukes did not like the fact that a PFF, they were talking about who do you want, Farley or Surtain, and his dad's like, is this even a question? Matter of fact, he's going to run faster than Farley, who's a good player, but he hasn't covered the guys that PS2 has: Metcalf, AJ Brown, Hardman, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Chase, and not to mention the 4 top 20 picks at practice. Let's put this to bed. And you know what? I could even name the other NFL receivers in the SEC because I have a droid in my character level, but carry on with that PFF BS. My slime played press man 95% of the snaps in the SEC and only gave it 4 TDs in 3 years. Don't get me started. Dad is bringing receipts here, but I'll bring a receipt here. They gave him some love here. Patrick Surtain was only flagged once in all of 2020, so you get some love right there. Are you feeling what Papa Surtain is saying right there?
Yeah, I mean, he deserves all the respect in the world. I mean, there's a reason why he's been talked about as the number 1 corner of this class. The whole thing is that people are now seeing the upside with Farley with his 4.2, 4.3 speed and the size, and knowing that he's a converted wide receiver that we touched on in the last episode. And we're going to talk about J.C. Horn soon, who is another legacy player in the draft. I mean, J.C. Horn, people like him because he's a lot louder with his actions than Patrick Surtain. His personality is crazy, and I think a lot of Eagles fans love that. I mean, J.C. Horn's kind of like a Jalen Ramsey, where he talks loud, he plays loud, and he would fit in a place like Philadelphia. But Patrick Surtain, I mean, all 3 are going to be great starters in the NFL or project to be. There's a reason why we're all looking at them at the 6th pick or slightly after. But right now, I do understand why people are being nitpicky with Patrick Surtain. He only ran like a high 4.5 in high school, coming out of high school as a 5-star recruit, and now he's really hoping to get in the 4.4 range to solidify his draft stock.
Yeah, and I think overall, like, again, he's not the twitchy guy. Like, I feel like he's a cerebral player. I think he's a guy when you expect him to be in the right place, he's usually going to be in the right place. I think he has a a good understanding of. He's seen everything. I mean, how many games he's played in the SEC? He has a good feel for what's coming down the way. And when I say feel, he likes to use his hands and kind of redirect, and he'll jab wide receivers throughout the route to kind of get an idea or try to redirect them. But the thing for me is like when he doesn't get hands on the wide receiver, things get a little out of control sometimes. And then you see if you're twitched up and you're even with PS2, you're leaving. And if there's a good quarterback and a good wide receiver out there and a perfectly thrown ball, that could be touchdowns. Like I've seen some plays where he catches up and, makes a play on some of these plays, but I think in the NFL, that's going to be a touchdown. And I think again, he's still got more learning to do as he gets to the NFL. I feel like, if he's there at 10, I think the Cowboys would be very excited to team him up with Diggs. But overall, his pop's talking about man. Like if you're looking for a man cover corner, he can do that. He's done it all his career, and we want to paint a picture to you of what we think PS2 is.
Yeah, so Patrick Surtain, you alluded to the fact that he is probably one of the best man coverage corners in the draft, but he really has to be in press coverage. He's not good enough man, and he's a guy that if he is in press man, he lunges sometimes, and when he misses, he does not have the speed that Caleb Farley does to get back, even with the wide receivers, and then he doesn't have the technique that J.C. Horn does to recover due to his lack of speed. I mean, I'm going to start with two good clips first. Right here is a pass breakup. So here he is in the slot, and he's outside, shading outside because he knows he has help inside. Real smart. That's example of his IQ. So gets a little bit of hands, funnels them outside, and the good thing with Patrick Surtain is he has a really good feel for his areas, and he knows that this guy is either going to break outside or he's going to break inside. But inside, he knows that he has safety help. So he gets to his inside, and he walks the route for the receiver right here. And then here he goes, gets some hands, eyes back to the ball, back to the quarterback, pass breakup. Great play right there by him. So going to the next one, this was really perfect coverage. This is against Georgia. So Surtain's up top, and he knows where the sideline is. He knows where the help is. He gets hands on, turns back, overthrow by the quarterback. Yeah, it's stupid simple right there. So we're actually going to get a clip here. This is 2019 against Ja'Marr Chase. So Ja'Marr Chase, when asked who is the best cornerback that he's faced outside of a teammate, because Derek Stingley, who's pretty much the consensus cornerback one next year, he said Patrick Surtain is the best corner that he faced. Funny enough, Ja'Marr Chase ended up with 140-1 in the game against Alabama last year. That being said, he was cooking Diggs for most that game. But here is a play right here where they're at the top of the screen, and a little bit of a stutter, slant. Ja'Marr Chase gets plenty of separation. It slowed down a little bit for you guys back at home.
He does get a hand on them. Like you could see him move him out of the way with. It's very subtle though.
Yep, but you can just see that Ja'Marr Chase, he's one of the best at eating up speed and just getting on top of you right there, and it's just a nice little gain right there. These are two clips. The next one's that I'm a lot more critical of Patrick Surtain. So NFL teams, they know that he's not good at all if you're not getting hands on. So right here, A&M, they stacked against him with the receivers, and you're going to see what it does to him. He lunges, whiffs, and this wide receiver's gone. I mean, better quarterback, better throw, even better receiver, and this is a touchdown right here. Surtain lunges for the receiver that he has, that he's responsible for, and he just gets left in the dust right here. I mean, it's one of those things where Surtain does so many things well, but he doesn't have the long speed to keep up with some of these guys. I mean, if you put Patrick Surtain on like a Tyreek Hill, it probably would not end well. Because look, this is bad there. He's lunging, and the receiver's gone.
That's a
Bad
wrap.
throw right here. Yep. Better throw, better receiver. That's a touchdown. So here's
Interesting.
another one. This is my last clip. This is Patrick Surtain on the outside. This is another one where he opens his hips early, and you can just tell he doesn't have the long speed right there, and he just gets cooked a little bit. I mean,
No hands.
he as soon as he doesn't get hands on, and he opens his gate early, and he kind of panics. I mean, he starts holding a little bit. But that you see where his technique is, where he does get his eyes around, but this receiver should have caught the ball. Like right here, NFL quarterback, NFL receiver, that should be a touchdown.
And it's
Yeah,
funny. I've seen, like I've seen this enough from enough analysts saying that he doesn't panic, and like if he's up against a guy from New Mexico State or like maybe Texas A&M, he might be feeling a certain way. But I've seen him up against alphas, and I've seen him. That's where I've seen the panic, and like when he doesn't get the hand on, that's one thing that I've noticed. And again, but I think what it's like some people can it's like reading braille for him. Like if he gets his hand on it and he realizes where you're going, he can kind of feel and try and redirect. But if he misses or he's playing off, or I think that's when things get out of control when he's up against a twitchy wide receiver. But off the bat for me, he's a cerebral player, like I said, but he's around the football, and I entitled this one "Right Time, Right Place." And just kind of reads the route. He makes a nice catch, shows some hands. This one's against, I believe, South
that was
Carolina. Boom.
okay.
This one's against South Carolina. Comes up, makes a nice catch. Sees the quarterback. He's reading the quarterback, and he jumps off and gets a pick. So some nice plays there. But one play that kind of like stood out for me is when I see him up against bigger guys. We're talking about tight ends and bigger wide receivers. He look at the back end of this clip here. You could see him get boxed out, and he doesn't really have a plan against the bigger guys. Because I saw Brian Edwards as well in this game, kind of on slants, kind of take advantage using their bodies. Again, he's not he's got length. I think he still can build on his NFL body. Some of the guys that he studies Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander, and Tre'Davious White. All players we mentioned in the Caleb Farley video, guys that have been drafted in the first round. But I feel like he knows what he has to work on, and he knows. I know he knows what his weaknesses are, but when we're talking about he's smooth with it. On this play right here, kind of diagnoses it real quick, transitions right to the it was at the tight end. Right time, right place. You can expect him to be in the right place. And on this play right here, I entitled this one, "You'll get a lot of this." So on this play, he does get a little bit of hands on there. If he can get a hand on you, I feel like he's in a better position to succeed. He does funnel the cornerback to the outside a little bit, kind of uses the sidelines to his advantage. But like that's you're going to see a lot of this in this one other play. This is my last clip. He's over here in the slot over here, and comes in late. And he's always going to compete and compete to the final whistle. And he'll come in and swat things out, man. Like he'll come in, you think the play's over, but he's playing to the very end, very competitive, and he's in there trying to fight to get the ball out, knock the ball out, whatever it takes. I was actually watching some high school film. I seen him rip out a ball, like somehow the defender got it and he came out and ripped it right out of his hands. I think he's a cerebral guy, and I think he's on paper. If you're trying to go the safe route, you like to play a lot of man. You think you can groom him, but I think he'd probably be a day one starter, and I think he'd grow into his NFL body, and I feel like he'd be a solid starter.
We highlighted that who his dad was earlier, and you know that he has a really strong support system behind him. He's going to be getting the best training, the best nutrition in the off season, and then a team that inherits him, like you were talking about, man coverage all the way. I mean, if they just refine some skills, make sure that he keeps up with not getting his hands on too much and avoiding penalties that he racked up in 2019, but he avoided in 2020. He can be a solid NFL starter, and he should be an NFL starter right away. There's just some things he can clean up. I mean, the pedigree's there, and if he does run in the 4.4s at his pro day, I mean, watch out. He's going to be solidified as like a top 12 draft pick.
And again, like he's not going to be the aggressive JC Horn types. His attitude's not like that. He said he doesn't even talk a lot of trash on the field. He's more into his game, and like he'll say his piece, but he's not like he's not aggressive. Now, in like a Mike Zimmer style defense, you got like that aggressive type corner, maybe. Maybe JC Horn is the target if they move back and they want a corner. You're like, hey man, we can get JC Horner what 15, maybe, or like you never know. You don't know who has who ranked higher than others, but obviously we both kind of felt a certain way, and I definitely, depending on scheme and system, he could be your 1, your 2, or 3. And we're still trying to figure that out. We're guesstimating that Gannon, he's going to run the same kind of system like Mike Zimmer, and he's going to look for aggressiveness. So obviously we'll see. But overall, any last words before we get out of here about Surtain?
Yeah, so final thoughts on Patrick Surtain. Him, Farley, and Horn, they all project to be day one starters in the NFL. You really can make a case for any of the three. Patrick Surtain, I would say, other than Horn, he is a critically better tackler than Caleb Farley, that's his main issue. He's not that good of a tackler, and he's really raw. It's really the pure athleticism. Patrick Surtain is more of a quote-unquote boring player, but that's almost a good thing. I mean, he wins with his technique, and he's like Father Time. I mean, he's a 3-year starter at Alabama, and he's seen everything. I mean, he's seen the best of the best, especially on his team. I mean, he has to cover Devonta Smith, Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, and all these guys while his time there. So he has seen everything. So we're just being nitpicky when we're showing clips like that. We just want to make sure that we're highlighting the good and the bad, because a lot of guys, they're just going to show you guys highlight tapes of some of these guys, but we want to show you that not one prospect is perfect, especially a guy that was a 5-star recruit out of high school. But we're really high on him. I mean, we'd love for him to be on the Eagles. We're just really high on other cornerbacks as well.
And it's what you want to see is the progression. I think I've seen progression in this game. And I feel like, if he gets into his NFL body, gets stronger, and starts, I believe his football IQ is where he wins. And I feel like, you can't teach twitch. I don't think he's twitched up like Caleb Farley. I don't think he has the closing speed like Caleb Farley. Pop said he's going to run faster than Farley, though. That's what I want to see. But overall, man, I hope you guys got a better feel for this prospect. We'd like to know what you guys think out there, who your CB1 is, your 2, your 3 is. Hey, man, we all have our own flavors. But at the end of the day, we're all looking for these players for our Eagles. But we will go see you in the next one. And as always, it's fly, Eagles, fly.